G'day guys and gal. If you're going to be ballsy enough to create a setting that includes the entire galaxy, you're going to need a good way for everyone to be able to get around. After all, it would be kind of shit if we met a cool character and then he and 1,000 of his descendants all die of old age before their spaceship even reaches their first battlefield. As such, each race and faction has been given access to their own method of faster than light travel. Faster than light travel being pretty bloody self-explanatory. This allows mortal characters to visit every corner of the galaxy without the setting needing to be called Warhammer 500,000 or something. But as each race achieve faster than light travel independent of the others, they all have very different and very interesting methods, along with their own advantages and disadvantages. Today we'll go over each race's method of FTL travel, detailing the sci-fi behind it, the pros and cons of it, and how it compares to the rest of the galaxy. Let's get into it. Starting us off with the best race, mankind. What can I say? I'm a huge racist. Unlike the majority of races in 40k, who were either given their faster than light travel by the old ones or they just stole it off the other races, humanity invented our own travel from scratch. In 40k, there is a thing called the warp, which is like a soul dimension that resides on a separate plane of existence than real space. Humanity figured out how to cut a small temporary hole in real space that opens up a door to the warp. From here, humanity then had to figure out how to create a Gellerfield, which is like a spirit force field which keeps the evil whack shit in the warp from entering the ship and turning everyone inside out. Once we had both these things sorted out after a few extremely grim trial and error attempts, we could now take shortcuts through the galaxy via the warp. Destinations that were light years away suddenly could be reached in days or weeks. Then out of absolutely fucking nowhere, some humans started mutating and developing a third eye. This eye could see into the warp and guide ships through warp travel. These navigators, as they were called, were significantly more advanced than the computers humanity used to originally plot their course. Hence, warp travel became significantly safer and more effective, with way greater distances now available to be covered. I say mankind here, instead of the Imperium of Man, as all this FTL travel was created before the Age of Strife, where humanity went from a bunch of progressive and godlike atheists to a bunch of Bible-humping fanatics that believe screen resolutions over 1080p are tech heresy. Despite this attitude change, their methods of FTL travel, down to the warp jump, Gellerfields, and navigators, have remained mostly unchanged. The only real difference that I can think of is that due to the regression in technology, many ships have had to replace a part of their Gellerfield generator with a comatose sidecar. Don't ask me why. GW wanted to have one of their random grimdirt moments, I suppose. The advantages of warp travel is that you can activate it anytime, anywhere, as long as you have a warp drive. You can also pop out anywhere. The negatives is that warp travel can fuck with your timing, hence a bad warp jump can throw you hundreds or even thousands of years off your intended arrival time. Gellerfields can also fail mid-jump, causing the ship's crew to have an absolute shit one. There's a bit of confusion about if Chaos uses a Gellerfield. After all, they already serve demons and hell gods. Surely they don't need a Gellerfield if the entities of the warp are already on their side, right? Wrong, you fucking idiot! Think of a ship as a submarine and the warp as an ocean. If a submarine deep dives into the ocean with its window and doors open, it doesn't matter if it's an American sub, a Russian sub, or a Chaos sub, everyone on board is going to get their tips absolutely shut on and the sub will die. Same thing for ships in the warp. Even Chaos ships. There is more things in the warp than just demons of Khorne, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Titsnitch. There are unaligned entities that are just as predatory and malicious that would be more than happy to rip an Iron Warrior's dick off and slap him to death with it. To add to that, Khornite demons would more than love to invade a Thousand Sun ship if they could, as Khorne hates Titsnitch. Hell, Khornite demons would probably invade a World Eater ship for the fun of it. During the Horus Heresy, Corvus Corax baited a Wordbearer ship into the warp without their Gellerfields on, and the mortal crew instantly began clawing their eyes out and dying, whilst the Wordbearers shut themselves, especially when they started to feel things moving around inside their stomachs. Within minutes, everyone on board that Wordbearer ship had suffered a fate worse than death. So yes, Chaos forces still use Gellerfields during their warp travel. In saying that though, there can be some variations. Some Chaos ships turn their Gellerfield strength down, allowing for some demonic activity to occur while they travel, but not enough to doom the entire ship. Some Chaos ships use sorcerers instead of Gellerfields to keep the demons at bay. Only the most corrupted of Chaos ships, such as ones filled with the half-demon Gal Vorbak, could survive warp travel without a Gellerfield, but yeah, it's generally not the way for any human to go, no matter how fucking weird their religion is. The Elder have a much cleaner and easier method of FTL travel that was gifted to them by the Old Ones. The Old Ones being borderline gods, so you know, that makes sense. The Elder travel around the galaxy using the Webway. The Webway being a network of tunnels within the warp that are protected from the warp itself. This means that the Elder don't have need of stuff like navigators or Gellerfields. If warp travel is like a submarine in the ocean, Webway travel is like catching a train through a preset route. It's also incredibly difficult for other races and factions to access the Webway. It does happen, but it's not easy whatsoever, and it takes a shitload of power and effort. When this occurs, the Elder have no choice but to seal off the breached sections, causing them to permanently lose access to those sections of their Webway. All Elder use the Webway for travel, with the Dark Elder even living in the Webway full time. The Harlequin god Seo Gorach lives in the Webway as well, so there you go. A part of the Webway's protectiveness is that it has its own degree of sentience. Any entity within the Webway that isn't welcome will be actively misled and thwarted even before the Elder come to kill them. Despite its many advantages, the Webway isn't better than warp travel in every way. To access the Webway, you have to go to a preset destination, meaning you can't just randomly warp jump away from your problems in life. The destinations the Webway can take you is also preset. So if you want to go to planet A, but that section of the Webway has been sealed or just never existed, you'll have to go to planet B instead and then fly over manually to planet A. The fully intact and unbreached Webway that the Old Ones originally created was perfect, but over time it's kind of fallen apart, and since the Elder don't know how to repair or grow it, they just have to cop the fact that their FTL is slowly but surely dying. The Orcs version of FTL travel is kinda cooked and inconsistent, which really lines up with how Orcs go about most things in their lives. They use warp drives, or at least something that they believe can take them into the warp, so it does, but they don't use Gellerfields unless they're on a stolen Imperial ship. Now that sounds pretty bad after everything I've said, but surprisingly the Orcs don't really give a fuck. They are extremely warp resistant, immune to possession and corruption, hence the usual eye-clawing and screaming that humans do in the warp doesn't affect the Orcs. The Orcs can also use Weird Boys, which are their wizards, as well as some totems to help ward off warp entities. But in all honesty, the Orcs like it when demons come aboard. It gives them a good warm-up scrap before they get to their destination. There's times in the lore where they capture an Imperial ship and kill its crew. They then go into the warp without a Gellerfield, and they find it hilarious when the dead human bodies start merging into an eldritch abomination that they then get to fight and kill. Imagine this, you're a demon in the warp. You see a ship gliding through and realize it doesn't have a Gellerfield. Delicious. A foolish crew ready to have their mind, body and spirits raped and consumed. You and your buddies get on board ready to cause havoc, only to see a big green muscly orc smiling at you with a big ass chopper in his hand. Suddenly, you aren't having such a good time. Orcs don't have navigators, so how do they get to where they want to go? Well, it's a combo of things. The Weird Boys can act as navigators in a similar way to how Chaos can use sorcerers to navigate. More than that though, the Orcs' collective War energy can guide the ship to its destination. If they all really want to go to Armageddon to join Gazkal's Super War, then the ship will most likely be guided to Armageddon. They're Orcs. Don't question it, they can just kinda do whatever the fuck they want. The Necrons avoid the warp like I avoid chicks with salami nips, so how do they travel faster than light? After all, every method I've listed so far has been very reliant on the warp's existence. Well, Necron FTL travel has been retconned a shitload of times, making it not entirely clear what methods are still canon and what aren't. I'll go over a couple and you can just pick and choose what you like for your own headcanon. The Necrons have used inertialess drives, which are like some bullshit overpowered nonsense that allows them to rapidly accelerate beyond the speed of light, meaning they don't need to cut through the warp to fling themselves across the galaxy. Another method is that they seem to be able to phase in and out of reality, letting them teleport across the galaxy. Newer lore talks about the use of dolmen gates, which are basically webway gates that have been taken over and repurposed by the Necrons, allowing the Necrons to access the webway and use it to travel around. They also seem to be able to use wormholes, called eternity gates, allowing them to basically use black holes as faster than light travel as well. I kid you not, Necrons also pretty much have their own version of the Bifrost that the Asgardians have. There's even a thing called the Veil of Darkness, which I'm not even going to try and explain. Otherwise, my simpleton brain might hemorrhage. The idea is that Necrons are spoiled for choice. Their technology is so advanced that they have developed multiple reliable and effective methods of faster than light travel. most of which have absolutely no reliance on the warp, so there you go. Necrons once again OP as fuck. The Tau struggle with faster than light travel. They haven't developed the kind of overpowered technology that the Necrons have, nor have they been given FTL travel like the Eldar were. They are also a psychically inert race, hence they have no navigators. As such, the Tau have a basic bitch version of a warp drive, allowing them to skim over the surface of the warp without entering into it. This is faster than light travel, but it is significantly slower than all the other races. They have been working on improving and innovating on this technology, achieving a lot of success, but they are still behind the curve. This is a big reason as to why their empire is so small and contained. They can only make a few small, slow jumps. They once tried to do true warp travel by reverse engineering an Imperial warp drive, however they didn't realize what a Gellerfield was and why it was important, hence the experiment ended pretty badly, creating a wormhole that almost allowed the Death Guard to attack and destroy the heart of the Tau Empire. Apparently, new lore has given Tau some random bullshit thing called a Horizon Drive or something that allows them to have true FTL travel, but I'm not really a fan of that. Not every faction needs to have the exact same quality of tech. One good thing about the Tau's warp skimming is that there is no risk of demonic incursion during the travel, so it's actually very safe. Finally, we have the Tyranids, who have one of the more quirky faster than light travel techniques. By using a specialized bioship called a Narval, a Tyranid fleet can fold space, allowing them to cut through it extremely quickly without the use of the warp. A drawback to this is that whilst the first 90% of their journey will be very quick, they have to stop their space warping for the final 10%, as they could overshoot and miss their target or straight up crash into it at lethal speed if they don't pull up early. From here, it will then take them years or even decades to complete the final 10% of their journey. This space folding can be a huge pain in the ass, as if it happens too close to a world, that world can suffer earthquakes, eruptions and tsunamis. Bad for the world, but good for the Tyranid fleet about to eat their ass, I suppose. Whilst this method of travel is consistent, safe and reliable, it's slower than the other races, and the Narval ship is incredibly defenseless. It has next to no weapons, and its armor is weak as piss due to the fact that its entire structure and biomass is being used to literally warp space. Hence, if you're able to hit it with a big enough bomb, you can effectively cripple a hive fleet's ability to travel faster than light, keeping them stuck on a very long, slow journey through the void until they can eventually recreate a new Narval. So which FTL method is the best? Well, each one has its pros and cons. Humanity's warp travel is fast, can be done at a moment's notice, and is pretty reliable, but there's also a chance you could get spit roasted by demons with rusty corkscrews for dicks. The Tau's is safe, but slow. The Eldar's is fast and secure, but has limited destinations. Necrons seem to be way ahead of everyone else, until we realize we have no fucking clue which of their FTL travels is canon or not. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. As long as the plot has something that allows Trizin the Infinite to throw a Pokeball at the Swarm Lord's dangling nuts, then I'm happy. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Where only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of cheeky, not suitable for work shit. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more faster than light content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.